Either we heal as a team, or we're going to crumble. Inch by inch, play by play, till we're finished. We're in hell right now, gentlemen. Believe me. And we can stay here, get the shit kicked out of us, or we can fight our way back into the light. We can climb out of hell. 1 inch at a time. You know, when you get old in life, things get taken from you. I mean, that's part of life. But you only learn that when you start losing stuff. You find out life's this game of inches. So is football. Because in either game, life or football, the margin for error is so small. I mean, 1/2 a step too late or too early, and you don't quite make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, you don't quite catch it. The inches we need are everywhere around us. Hell yeah. They're in every break of the game, every minute, every second. On this team, we fight for that inch. On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw our fingernails for that inch. Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying. I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy who's willing to die who's going to win that inch. And I know if I'm going to have any life anymore, it's because I'm still willing to fight and die for that inch. Because that's what living is. There's 6 inches in front of your face. Now, I can't make you do it. You got to look at the guy next to you. Look into his eyes. Now, I think you're going to see a guy who will go that inch with you. You're going to see a guy who will sacrifice himself for this team because he knows when it comes down to it, you're going to do the same for him. That's a team, gentlemen. And either we heal now as a team, or we will die as individuals.
Ideas are bulletproof.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday, November 13th, 2011. This is Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. Some of you might have heard me on Jimmy X's show earlier today. I was covering Jimmy's show from 1 to 3 over on Oracle. And some of you may have heard the program. JJ hung out for a little while with us. Jules hung out with for a little while. Bob Tuskin came on for a couple segments, and I took a lot of phone calls from the listeners to Jimmy's show, and we had some interesting conversations. I went off about my feelings about Penn State, which I don't think I need to reiterate time and time again. I covered, for 2 hours pretty much how it's connected and everything. And if you want to hear the program, I'll have it up on my YouTube channel. You can go to Federal Jack Tube 6, Federal Jack Tube and the number 6. It has full-length uploads now as well. So both my channels, that and the other one, which is The Answer to 1984 Is. Both of them have my archives go up too. So subscribe to both, and then when I throw them up, you'll be able to hear the show later on. Probably within a day or two, I'll have it up, and you'll be able to hear the whole archive. Anyway, there's a few things I want to cover today, and one of the things I want to get into before I get into other stuff, because I'll get sidetracked talking about, whether mind control or New World Order or anything like that. I'll get sidetracked because there's just so much information on it, and I won't get back to this, and I keep forgetting to talk about this. So I want to get into it really quick. You all know that on the 28th of October, I aired a pre-recorded special program I had done with Mark Passiel because he was scheduled to come on live that night, and I had to reschedule because I'd gotten a chance to go explore a real haunted estate and it's supposedly the most haunted place in South Florida. So I didn't want to pass the chance up. So I went, and the chance I had to go was it was an event. They call it. They do it like every couple months. The next one's not until like March. It's called a spook over, and pretty much you stay overnight till like 4 o'clock in the morning. We ended up staying there until like 5:30. We were like we were the last ones to leave, me and a few other people, and we hung out and we got a lot of people left. We went out and we did a couple other things and explored some other parts of the property besides just the buildings, but it was pretty neat. Now, on Sunday the 30th, I had Susan Lindauer on, so she hung out with me for 2 hours. I covered it for like 2 seconds, really, but I didn't really get into it. And everybody's been bugging me about what happened. I've been getting emails. So I decided I'll cover it a little bit today. I'll go over, what I saw, the things that some of the other people I interviewed that were there. A couple of them didn't want to be on camera, so I just kind of let it run, let the videotape run, and ask questions and stuff. But a lot of these people that I asked questions to and interviewed were people that worked there, and they told me some of their interesting paranormal experiences. So I'll cover that for a little while, and then after that, because I did promise everybody I would talk about it, and I keep forgetting to tell everybody. And people want to know what I saw, whether or not it's kooky or not, whether or not it's real. So I'll just tell you my experiences, and then we'll go on to other stuff. The other stuff I wanted to cover today is I want people to pay attention to what's going on with this jobs bill. Obama said, hey, Congress won't pass it. I'm going to pass it piece by piece by piece with an executive order once a week until Congress passes it. And they took advantage of Veterans Day this week and passed, the Veterans Job Act or whatever that, or this executive order from Obama, for getting veterans jobs. And everybody would be like, Popeye, why would you be against veterans getting jobs? I'm not. But what they're doing is they're going to make a lot of these people that would be qualified to not be able to work. They're going to force them to go back to work with massive disabilities. Get ready for cuts to the VA healthcare system. So of course they're going to get people ready to go back to work. We need you to hire the vets first. Of course they need them to hire the vets first, because they're going to be the first ones to get screwed. What did the Super Congress say? Or I should say, one of the members of the Super Congress and all the veterans committees in Congress say. They all got together like a week and a half ago and said, you know what? We agree to cuts across the board for VA funding, for the VA medical system. I'm paraphrasing here, but the comment they made was something to the effect of, I'll try to find it really quick, but it was something to the effect of, veterans have made so many sacrifices before, they should lead the way again, and they should, here it is. It's on federaljack.com. The title of the article is Veterans Committee Leaders All Open to VA Cuts. Wow, it's almost been a month. So it wasn't 2 weeks ago. It was actually longer. It was almost a month ago already. Wow, time flies. I posted it on the 19th. All right, to quote, here it is. Where is their little thing? I want you guys to hear this really quick. The one woman on top of it, her name is, where is her name? Senator Patty Murray. She also happens to sit on the super committee. So it's interesting how right off the bat, this woman's like, yeah, we'll sacrifice the vets. But she never served. Here it is. We believe no constituency better understands the challenge America faces, and no constituency is better suited to, again, lead by example by putting country first. So they play on that patriotism stuff that they pump into our heads in boot camp, okay? Be patriotic. Throw yourself on the eternal sacrifice for the country. Ugh. Says a rare joint letter signed by the 4 top Democratic and Republican members of the Veterans Committees. And it was signed by Senator Patty Murray, Democrat, Washington. She's the Senate Veterans Affairs Committee chairwoman. She also happens to sit on top of the super committee, so she's evil. Senator Richard Burr, Republican. Representative Jeff Miller, Republican from Florida. And Bob Filner, Democrat from California. So there you go. Send them all emails and tell them how much they suck, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to break. We'll be right back. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, I'm going to get into this really quick, and then we'll move on to other things. But I have been asked about this stuff. In fact, before I get into this, because it'll probably take a segment or a segment and a half, I want to finish up what I was saying really quick in the first segment about vets. I did the special on Friday for Veterans Day where you got to hear just 3 veterans talking, and you got to see things honestly from their point of view. And it was Joe Joseph, Ken Hildebrand, and myself. And we tried to give you a different perspective on veterans and everything. But the one thing there's so much to cover. The one thing we didn't cover, and I want to say really quick, is the staggering amount of suicides that there is in the veterans community. We've lost more veterans, more men and women to suicide than we did to combat. It's disgusting, and we should be ashamed of ourselves for allowing it to go on. And, knowing about it and not doing anything about it. And I don't want to hear that people don't know about it because it's been all over the place. Now it's just a matter of people are turning their backs on it because they'd rather not say it, out of sight, out of mind. I think it's disgusting. It is 110% disgusting. And my friend Adolf in the chat room there, he's a veteran himself. And he threw in a number. It's, on the average of 18 a day. That's staggering. Think about that. 18 people a day on average. So the number is, the number may dip down, go below that a little bit, but you also know the number goes even higher than that. That should be appalling to anybody. If you guys know a veteran that's depressed or is not the same when he came back, you're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to help him. You're going to want to try, you might try to do things. You're not going to understand him. The best you could do is try to hook that person up with another veteran that's willing to sit down and talk to them. And I'm not making fun of you people, but you're just not going to understand that vet. You're really not going to understand them. You can't even begin to try to understand that veteran. You didn't go through the same stuff. Going through boot camp and then being deployed, no matter what branch you're in, it's a stress and an experience that everybody understands, mutually across the board. We understand the sacrifices and the realities of things that you have to face and see. Civilians that have not gone through it can't understand it. I'm not picking on anybody. It's just a fact. That's why these kids commit suicide. That coupled with the fact that they're trying to deal with the fact that they had to shoot kids in certain circumstances because maybe the kid was pointing a gun at them, or because they witnessed people doing horrendous things and just shooting civilians, or they know that civilians were killed, even if it was unintentional, and they saw it. That kind of stuff weighs heavy. It's not easy to deal with. So if you know somebody that's a veteran and they need help, don't just say, oh, well, he's some crazy vet, blah, 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 and get angry. Don't also think that you're going to make a difference by talking to them, because they're not going to understand you. They're not going to get it. You need to, look, there's different veterans organizations that can help them out. Check them out. If they want to speak to somebody, tell them to call Iraq Veterans Against the War. I know it's an organization that's against the war, but these guys know firsthand the traumas and stuff, and they can sit and talk to you. There's other organizations that'll help you. It's not cool that people don't help veterans and they just, oh, he's a crazy war veteran. Oh, well, screw him. He deserves it. Baby killer and everything else. Well, how human are you being then? Where's your morality? You act holier than thou, but then you piss all over another human being like that. If you're going to be holier than thou, then actually let actions speak louder than words. Let's take care of our own. Because Lord knows these scumbags in our government aren't going to do it. And I can speak firsthand that they don't care. And even if the guy wasn't a combat vet, he just served 4 years, never saw action but got hurt or has injuries due to the work he did in the military. He deserves your respect and your help too. Well, he wasn't a combat vet. I don't care. Don't give me that crap. A veteran is a veteran. Now, there is a difference between a combat vet. Those guys actually usually are worse off when it comes to the things that they've seen and then not getting the proper help that they require. So don't discount them either. But I don't want anybody to, the glorification of veterans always is, well, these guys came back from combat. And a lot of people that aren't helped out are the guys that get hurt here right in the United States. So let's not forget about them. Let's take care of everybody. They were all, I look at veterans as people that had honorable intentions, but they were duped. I was like that. I didn't go into the military going, I want to kill every human being on the planet. No, I joined because I wanted to defend my country. I thought I was doing the right thing at the time. I'll admit I was duped about certain things. But I'm not now. But I'm also not ashamed to say that I signed up and took an oath to the Constitution, and I'm proud of that oath. And I'm proud of every man and woman that has done the same. Unfortunately, there are some bad apples, like the idiot that ran around Afghanistan, taking fingers and ears and stuff, but he's not representative of all veterans. Not by a long shot. A lot of times the media focuses on that stuff purposely. Helps vilify veterans. Just, it touches a personal chord with me how vets are treated. I've donated more of my own clothes to the homeless vets around here than I could even, try to tally up. Probably half of the clothes that I've owned. If I don't wear it, it's been sitting in my closet more than, 4 or 5 months without me even looking at it or touching it. I had a lot of stuff that was old and, sitting around for years. So rather than give it to Goodwill, I boxed it up, threw it in some cardboard boxes. In some cases, I put it in plastic bags because I didn't have any boxes, whatever the case may be that you need to do. I drove around. And I knew where certain congregations of homeless people were, and I knew that most of them were veterans, and I know the homeless vets hang out under the overpass by about a half a mile down the road from the VA hospital. So what did I do? I drove around until I would see a bunch of homeless vets. I'd pull over to the side of the road, and I would just drop off boxes and boxes of clothes. If I know someone that's throwing stuff out, I have friends that are kind of idiots, and one person was like, I'm not giving my clothes away. I'd rather just throw them out. And he was real putz when he said that to me. I wanted to wring his neck. So instead, I waited until he threw them out, and then I went out, and when I left and I took the trash, I went because it was right there on the side of the building, and I grabbed the bag, threw it in my trunk, and I made sure the next time I stopped at the VA hospital on my way back, I pulled over, got out, called them all over, thanked them for their service. That's better than giving them money. It shows you care and you have a heart. Giving money is heartless. Here, write a check. Here, take a $5 bill. Puh. Give them some clothes to help them stay warm. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break. We'll be right back. Another interesting thought before we get into other topics, showing how they treat our veterans. Go look at how the over 20,000 POWs, American and British, were treated and gave them to the Russians as slave labor at the end of World War II. Oh, yeah. You can check out a book called Target Patent, or if you go to my archives over at federaljack.com, radio show archive page, scroll on down to July 31st, 2011, 7/31/11. Robert Wilcox, author of Target Patent, 2-hour interview with him. Listen to that. Go read his book. It talks more about patent, but it brings up this subject. There's about 2 or 3 pages in a specific chapter that are solely dedicated to this issue, and from there he gives you references in the book where to go to look up more. It's disgusting. So next time you see Ike and people are like, but he was trying to warn us about the NWO, I spit at Ike. Ugh. Traitorous scumbag. Marshall, too. English jagoff. He should be hung. Well, he's dead. Doesn't matter. So they're both dead. Now they have to make, I'm sure they had to atone for whatever the hell they did, wherever they went. So I just don't like to see people. It's like when people talk about Jim Trafficant. Oh, Trafficant's great. He's against the New World Order. He talks smack about Israel. You should watch out for Trafficant. You don't believe me? Go read Kathy O'Brien's book. Then come back to me and talk to me about Jim Trafficant and how awesome he is. He used to run according to Kathy, he used to run what they call charm school, which is where the MK Ultra presidential models go. And Trafficant's job while he was there was to try them out, make sure they were ready. Now, if you look at how they treat him now, he probably did something that pissed them off. Because remember, they don't, not everybody's 100% on the same page. They all might have the same goal, but everybody maybe has a change of heart at one point or something. But that's what they have on him. Whether it was when he was in his younger years and it was, an oops thing, doesn't matter. Trafficant is named as an abuser by Kathy O'Brien. So the people should at least know full disclosure about Jim Trafficant. See what I'm saying? It's good to know full disclosure about things. Don't ever put anybody up on a pedestal, because people are human and will eventually do stupid things. Maybe at one point or another in their life they sold out. And people, even if they're good now, people will, oh my God, you shattered my whole thing. Like when that British moron, what was his name? What the hell is that kid's name? Such a loser, I don't even remember his name. That's how inconsequential and unimportant he is. Charlie Veach, that was his name. I had to go to the pit of crap to find that. Anyway, when he pulled his little, 9/11 wasn't an inside job. I think it was blah, 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 blah. Same thing. Ugh. Just, it irritates me. People, they put people up on a pedestal and they say, oh, he's a great guy. And then he does something stupid, which whether or not he was a plant, but putting all of that, because I don't want to get into a debate about him or not, but, as an example, whether or not he was a plant or whether or not he was real, and he just changed his mind, people's reactions were justifiably angry because they looked up to him, but at the same time, you shouldn't put anybody on a pedestal and idolize anybody. Everybody is human. So anyway, I get off on rants sometimes here, but I wanted people to know about Trafficant. He's not as lily white as everybody thinks. So if you're gonna like put your faith in somebody or whatever, you should at least know what that person is about, because that way you can make an educated decision. Because you sound real bad when you're running around like, yeah, MK Ultra, these guys, look at Kathy O'Brien. And then you're like, I love Jim Trafficant. You wouldn't if you knew about, if you understand Kathy O'Brien and you actually read her book, then you wouldn't be, you know what I mean? So, and you can get schooled. Because remember, they don't like Trafficant. So you want to get schooled by somebody. What happens if you're talking about MK Ultra and somebody has read O'Brien's book? And they say, but you like Jim Trafficant, right? Yeah. Well, what about this? And they schooled you right in front of everybody, and then they can point and show the evidence. Always good to know what's going on. So, anyway, without wasting any more time of my show with these morons. And no, I don't think I don't personally know. I think Trafficant got screwed, and I think my personal opinion is on Trafficant is this: I think Trafficant got screwed, and he got thrown to the wolves, just like they all do. Sandusky, same way. They're gonna. I said this when I was covering Jimmy X's show. They are gonna crucify that guy because he's going to be made an example of. They're going to say, well, there's too many people that know about it, so Sandusky's got to be made an example of. And at the same token, they're going to use it to cover up how deep that little pedo ring goes. And from what I understand, all these other universities are now coming out around the country. There are reports in the local papers around the country that other universities are now starting to come out. So it's only a matter of time before people realize that this was much, darker and much deeper. And apparently Sandusky was pimping off these kids from his little, what the hell? I don't remember the name of the little foundation he made for children, but he was pimping off the kids. Does that surprise anybody? Really? Does that surprise anybody? It doesn't surprise me. Okay? Doesn't surprise me at all. Of course, I'm jaded because I've researched this stuff and I've looked into it, and it's just mind-boggling the depth of it. I'm telling you, when you read Kathy O'Brien's book, you're probably not going to want to believe half of what you're reading in there, but I mean, the stuff that she talks about, and mind you, her book was written back in I think it was the late 90s when she wrote her book, when they first came out, the first draft. I'd have to look it up, but I want to say like the late 90s when she first wrote that book. And you read what she was talking about. She talks about, in her book, she talks about the North American Union. Well, that book came out way before any movies talked about a North American Union. Her book didn't come out in like 2006 or 2007 after people had seen Zeitgeist or any of these other, not Terror Storm, Endgame, or and nobody had seen. She hadn't seen Jones's movie, and she hadn't seen the other one, Zeitgeist, before she wrote her book. They didn't come out until years and years later. So, when you read her book and you understand when it was written, you have to sit back and go, wow, this chick's talking about how they planned on. This is back during the Reagan administration with Bush Sr. They planned on the North American Union. That's how far back this goes. Everybody likes to blame Clinton. It goes back further than him. So you have to think about it for a second. How could she have written a book talking about the North American Union? And people go, well, these conspiracy movies, they try to blow it off that way. But look, none of that stuff existed back when she wrote her book. So, I mean, if you really want to think about it, Kathy O'Brien was actually one of the very first people that talked about the North American Union. Interesting. It's called verification. It's called evidence. Oh, no, she's a tinfoil hat wearer. Mm-hmm, sure. I challenge you to go read her book, The Transformation of America. You'll understand what I'm talking about what I said about trafficking, and you'll understand what I'm talking about with the hideous things and all this other stuff, and that this stuff is all connected with Sandusky and everything else. And all those losers, I hope somebody over in Pennsylvania plays this broadcast, jerk-offs over at Penn State, I have a message for you. You're all a bunch of losers. You people need to get a life. Getting upset because your coach, your idol, got fired for covering up for a pedophile. Pull your heads out of your collective asses over there at Penn State. Idiots. Fail. We're going to break, gentlemen. We'll be right back.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories concerning the attacks of September the 11th. Malicious lies that attempt to shift the blame away from the terrorists themselves, away from the guilty.
People are always asking me, yo, Gemini, what's your angle?
Every time I hear George Bush speak, I think I
continue to blame the Knights Templar and the Hospitallers, the real reason New York lost their tower.
It kills itself because it says I can't deal with this anymore. God. I swear to God, just listening to him speak makes you retarded by proxy. Such a moron. That's a straw man argument, when people say, oh, you think Bush sat there with a plunger and blew up the towers. No, I do not think that Bush sat there with a plunger. I don't think that man could find his, ass from a hole in the ground. I don't think he could find his way out of a wet paper bag. I really don't think that he sat there detonating the charges. It's a straw man argument. I never said George Bush pushed a plunger. Neither did 9/11 Truth. But when people come at you and say stuff like that, mainstream media loves it. That's Glenn Beck's favorite talking point, Bill O'Reilly, and Chris Matthews. Even Keith Olbermann, they also had the same talking point. They think that George Bush sat there with a plunger and blew up the towers. That's a straw man argument. That's an argument that they know they can defeat. So they create the straw man argument and then beat it up, and they claim success. They haven't really ever refuted the original argument. Logical fallacy, ladies and gentlemen. Interesting how you do it right here. And a lot of times you don't even realize you might get angry at it, you just don't get it. Now maybe you do. I suggest you learn the trivium, which logical fallacies are a part of, a very small part of something much larger that people need. Because they've turned us back with our thinking. They've made people stupid. History shows that the Egyptian people started off very intelligent, and as the years went on, from the beginning of the Egyptian culture. Now, one would think that as the culture started, they were of a lower intelligence with less technology, and they would advance. But it was actually quite the opposite. The Egyptians started off with comparatively being in like the modern age now, and by the time they were done, it was like being back in the Stone Age, like living in Afghanistan. One must question why. We're experiencing the same thing. They have dumbed down our society to stop using critical thinking. The human race went through a period of time called the Enlightenment. And that was the time this country was founded. So it's frustrating to hear people say, well, the Constitution's old, that's outdated. That was a couple hundred years ago. How could you even try to put that as an argument? You would not have the freedom you have today if that piece of paper didn't exist 235, 240 years ago. Those people didn't exist that long ago. If they didn't stand up and defend and say no, no more. So when you hear idiots running around saying, well, it's an old piece of paper, who cares? We can change it. We didn't have the technology we had back then. You're right. We didn't have the technology. We had more intellectual thinking. Nowadays, we have idiots that know how to operate a cell phone. Well, that doesn't make you a rocket scientist now, does it? Because you know how to operate an iPad, and George Washington wouldn't have known what an iPad was. Ooh, that makes you real smart, doesn't it? That just makes you king of the hill because you know how to operate your stupid iPad. What happens when I smash your iPad with a rock? What then? What about when I turn all the power off? What then? What about when I get in your face and I take your iPad and I say, I'm the state and I want your iPad. iPad confiscation. What then? Makes me sick. It really does. You people are a disgrace to this country. Well, I can have my free speech. You're right. So can I. And I can tell you that I think you're a scumbag. I'm pretty harsh when I want to be. I don't care. I've earned the right. So tired of hearing people, well, you know, it's a different world. No, it's not a different world. Technology is different. The forces at play are pretty much the same, just modernized versions of it. Why did we even have the revolution if you're going to allow TSA to stick their hands down your wife's pants and grope your wife's crotch, or fear your wife's boobs up, or your daughter? Let me tell you something. At least the farmers 230 years ago stood up and said, you're not going to touch my daughter, you scumbag British soldier. This is the kind of stuff that the revolution was fought over, because they were doing this kind of stuff. How long before you get angry? When are you going to say, no, I will not comply? I've had enough. When? When are you going to get up and say, no, you can't touch that lady? Do you have to know her to be appalled that she's getting groped? Do you have to know the 6-year-old kid that got groped to be upset about it? No. That's dehumanization. That's where they broke us up. It's like I said on Jimmy's show today, we were discussing this, and it was other people that brought up the topic as well. Community. In a community, that stuff wouldn't happen, because the men in the community would say, I don't think so. But they've broken us up. They've divided us. Amongst racial lines, amongst economics, job class, multiple levels they've divided us. It's not just one, multiple levels. And they keep us so damn busy and everybody running around like in this rat race that you don't pay attention to what's going on. You don't realize that your opinions aren't even formed by any intellectual thought. They're formed by the damn boob tube or what you heard in some stupid song. What you heard on what they pass for talk radio. He's the NLP king of all that. NLP means neuro-linguistic programming. Go check it out. He's the king of it. You allow movies and television. I'm not speaking to my listeners, my regular listeners. I'm speaking to maybe the new people that have never heard a show like this before, or the people that aren't listening and someone passes this broadcast on to them. You are responsible for what's going on. I used to be responsible. I used to be part of the problem because I didn't take the time. But that was a long time ago. It's amazing what happens when you wake up and see what's really going on around you. You know how many good people I've met that are just regular human beings and they are disgusted by what is going on and they've had enough and they're just standing up and they're saying no. I've said this time and time again. The end of the movie, The Matrix, when Neo gets up and they all shoot at him, the 3 agents, they turn around and they shoot at him. And he puts his hand up and he says, or as he puts his hand up, he looks at them and they start shooting and he says, no. And he puts his hand up. Now, obviously, you can't really physically stop a bullet, okay? But it's a metaphor. It's showing that you have your true power inside you. The government doesn't give you power or security. You give it to yourself. No one's going to come protect you from the government when someone tries to break into your house at 3 o'clock in the morning. You have to whoop some ass yourself. Well, put that kind of theory, put that way of looking at things towards your whole entire life's goals and everything. Well, what can I do? I'm just one man. What can I do, Popeye? What can I do? What can you do? You can get mad and you can stand up and say no. No. One stone in the pond, no matter how small, makes a ripple felt all the way across. Stand up and fight. It's time to stand up. I don't mean you have to get guns and run around and burn Washington, D.C. to the ground and all this other crap. The goal is to avoid a violent conflict and just have a restoration of the Constitution. You want to know how we fix things? Everybody says, how do we fix things? How do we fix things? Go back to following the rules that were set by the Founding Fathers, and we wouldn't have a problem. Oh, I mean, yes, you're for racism too, right? You're for slavery. Shut up. Jefferson talked about removing or adding an amendment for abolishing slavery to the Constitution. But at the time, they knew that the southern states wouldn't join. And they needed everybody in order to fight the British. So some of them reluctantly said, okay, fine, we'll take it out. But it was there, people. Do your homework.
This is Sparta!
And Lincoln only freed the slaves because it was a political maneuver to help with the war. Before you jump all over history, I suggest you actually learn it. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to break. We're back in a few minutes with hour number 2. And I promise I will get into my time at the Gearing State. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2, the Sunday edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. It is November 13th, 2011. All right. I'm going to cover this really quick. The spook over. Deering Estate. Deering Estate is... I'm not going to go over the history of it. I could get into it. I suggest you check it out. It's pretty cool. But there's 2 main buildings on the property there. And one of them is the cottage, and the other one is the house that I think his name was Charles Deering built. Now, the guy was so afraid of fire. This is an interesting fact. The guy was so afraid of fire that the second house he built had no kitchen in it and was made entirely out of poured concrete. The cottage next door is actually the oldest building on the property. It dates back to the 1800s. And there were travelers there, people that, died there, got sick, whatever. Anyway, the land itself dates back over 10,000 years to the original Indians that were here, the natives, whatever you want to call them. And there are burial mounds on the property. There are Indian trash piles that date back to, some of them are, like the 10,000-year-old trash piles obviously are buried. You find them if they do like a little bit of an excavation. But they have piles that you can see above the ground that are literally 1,000 years old, and these are on top of the older stuff. So there's conch shells in there. There's shark vertebrae, sharks that they probably caught in the low waters and reeled them in, and then gutted them and ate them as food, or went out and fishing and caught them and brought them in. So it's like one of our trash piles today. If 1,000 years from now somebody went sifting through it, it'd be interesting what you find. Anyway, the property is really old. It's got interesting history. And before we went, I didn't do any investigating on the property. I didn't want to have any preconceived notions or anything about anything. I didn't want to go into this and be like, well, I heard in a certain room this happens to you, so I want to go see if I experience it, because then perhaps I would actually maybe manifest that experience for myself, and then that really wouldn't be a realistic thing. That would just be myself actually creating it, in my own head. So I didn't want to do any research on it, nothing. I wanted to go in empty so I could be skeptical. I wanted to see what I at least experienced and try to look at it with a somewhat of a skeptic eye. The group that runs the thing is called League of Paranormal Investigators, LPI Inc. Now, you can check them out. Their website is parahelp.com. That's para, PARAHELP.com. And I checked out the organization and everything. And they do this once every couple of months where they do a tour of the place, I think, once a month. And it's done to help obviously attract attention and help upkeep on the property, because the county now runs it, Miami-Dade. But the spook over part is done every couple months. So that's the part where you stay over for like 5-6 hours and you go to different haunted parts or whatever, depending on how big the group is. Now, there were a couple groups of people that were there. Our group was very chill and quiet and respectful. There's always the one group of people that, yo, are there ghosts here, man? And they act like idiots. And they tell you right off the bat that if you really do want to try to, have any type of experience, doing that really is not going to help you. So we went and checked everything out, and we walked around the property. And I have to tell you, the property itself, even if it wasn't haunted, is an interesting property. It's very creepy. You get this creepy vibe when you're there. And when you go into the cottage house, it's you can feel it. There's something in there. I don't know how to describe it. I know people are going to be like, oh, God, Bob, why are you talking about ghosts or whatever? But look, whatever it is, there is an energy in there. I don't pretend to be an expert on what it is, but I can tell you that you could feel there's definitely an atmospheric change as soon as you walk in there. I mean, it's like you feel it in your stomach. It's really pretty interesting. We went upstairs, and they you do what they call an EVP session, where you have a recording device and you ask questions and stuff, and then later on you go back and you try to listen to see if anything was said. Sometimes voices are picked up or whatever. One of the most haunted parts of the and they constantly have problems up there, like things going on, I guess, which you could label as poltergeist activity, with chairs being moved around and stuff like that. So long story short, we were up there for about an hour, and about, 20 minutes, 25 minutes into it, the chair that was next to me was sitting on an angle, and it abruptly slammed underneath the table and straightened itself out and slammed underneath the table. And it hit me in the leg, and there was a guy sitting about, he was standing about six inches to a foot away. And I know he didn't touch it, because I happened to, I know that nobody was touching the chair. I just know. I was there. It was right next to me. I knew nobody was touching it. That was a little weird. And then we had some interesting things. They had the EMF meters. They pick up EMF frequencies, electromagnetic frequencies, and EMF waves. And there were times that certain places we'd be sitting there, and if depending on this one girl, and apparently like this one female that had come with her boyfriend, they I guess they're interested in this stuff, and they brought their own EMF detector, and then she had one of the paranormal group's EMF detectors, and it really liked her. And apparently later on we found out that things tend to happen more with females than the males there. So anyway, long story short, when she would ask certain questions, sometimes it would respond to her. Her and this older guy that was there, this old man, maybe it felt that he was going to be joining them soon. I don't know. It was a joke, ladies and gentlemen. So, long story short, a couple times the lights did light up. The EMF detector did go off the chart. It was a little weird. And one part while we were up, here's an audio clip really quick. It's about a 30-second clip from when we were doing an EVP session up in the top of the cottage. And you can hear the guy's voice you're going to hear asking questions. His name is Chris. He's one of the people from the League of Paranormal Investigators. So you're going to hear him ask a question, and then you're going to, as he's talking, I have the video of this too. It's just pitch black, but you see the lights come on as he's talking. The one EMF detector goes nuts, but the other one that makes sound and gives an audible when it goes off the charts, goes nuts. It was weird. Check it out. Let me turn it on for you here. That would probably help, wouldn't it? All right, go ahead. Check this out.
Are you still with us? Can you give us some kind of indication that you're here with us? Can you make the device light up with the other one? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Can you move something in the room? Can you make a noise and move something in here?
All right, now, that noise you heard was the guy's EMF detector going ballistic. And I can tell you, this guy and a couple of us, it wasn't like he was planted or anything. We were the ones that kind of hung back, and we wanted to, we were, I guess, a little more serious about it than some of the other groups. And we hung back, and we were quiet. We were very respectful. We didn't, try to taunt if there were spirits there, we didn't try to taunt them or anything like that. And apparently later on, when you have like a debriefing or whatever, they tell you that they'll give you the history. If you ask them a question, they'll tell you something. And they were like, yes, some of them were more receptive to the females around here. It's just perhaps the energy they give off. Anyway, you heard the audio. That was the EMP device going crazy. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I also had an interesting experience on that just down the hallway on the other side in a room where somebody killed themselves. And I didn't know this at the time, but there's supposedly people see a female and they have pictures of a female up on that floor pacing the hallway. And I actually did see a shadow in the hallway that I caught out of the corner of my eye. It was a little creepy. So who knows? Who knows, ladies and gentlemen? Don't discount anything. Have an open mind. We're going to break the right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, check this out. All right, this is a little tidbit I wanted to talk about on Friday, and I didn't get to it because we were just having a veterans chat, and that was kind of more important to get that perspective across. But check this out. Over in the UK, police, and this is the title of the article in The Guardian, police arrest EDL supporters to prevent breach of peace. Now, that's in quotes. So I'll say that again. The police arrest EDL, which is the English Defense League, supporters to prevent a breach of peace. Now, I'm not defending the English Defense League, but you see, they arrested them because there were rumors that they were going to do something. They didn't have any concrete evidence, and they hadn't done it yet, but they arrested them. Pre-crime. And let me read to you a couple quotes here because it's, totally Orwellian. They were arrested, and it says the arrests came after Scotland Yard was accused of sending out threatening messages on the social networking site Twitter in the run-up to the 2-minute Remembrance Day silence on Friday. Now, they have Remembrance Day. They do a 2-minute silence for all the soldiers that are killed. And I guess people were going to protest that silence. And the police said, now, I'm a vet. I don't condone, those jack-offs that go to military funerals and that stuff. I don't condone protesting at funerals, but this is a public event, and if somebody wants to protest, even if you don't like to hear it, even if I don't like it, which I'm not saying that's the case, I'm just saying it doesn't matter. We're not the arbiters of anything, and free speech should reign. But again, this is the UK, so they don't have our constitution, so things are a little different over there. Of course, what goes on over there eventually goes on over here because the Queen still runs things over here. Don't be fooled. Anyway, let me see. It sent out these tweets, and it the Public Order Unit, it's called. The Metropolitan Police's Public Order Unit. Nice. Individuals seeking to disrupt the 2-minute silence will be dealt with robustly. Any police action will be considered and proportionate, respecting those who hold the 2-minute silence as a sign of respect. If the memory of dead soldiers is insulted where people have gathered to honor those soldiers, there is clearly a threat to public order. Deliberately using abusive or insulting words or behavior is an offense under Section 4 of the Public Order Act. So, they pretty much, they don't care, and I mean, this is the kind of, to quote an attorney over there, this is the kind of freedom veterans died for, so that you can't speak your piece. It's not like you're going to their funeral. I'm a vet. But this is a public event held by the government where they're going to politicize dead veterans. That's what this is about. So if somebody wants to come and make a free and open statement, I can't say that they don't have the, I mean, over there, obviously they don't have the right, but in a free and open society, they would have the right. And apparently because last year, what happened was a group called, and this is going to piss some people off, I really don't care. If I can find it in the article here. A group showed up last year. I can find the name of it. It was something like Muslims against whatever. But they were peaceful. Here it is. Muslims Against Crusades were planning to repeat last year's protest where they burnt poppies during the 2-minute silence. They didn't say anything that was disrespectful. They didn't say soldiers are scumbags or anything like that. They didn't go off and say anything stupid like that. They just burnt some poppies. While during 2 minutes, and they were arrested and put in jail because they broke the public. What is it called? The Public Order Act. Ugh. How Orwellian. Those guys thought they died defending their country and defending freedom. Wake up, man. None of us were defending freedom. We're helping build a global empire. That's why they don't care about us. Unbelievable. We're going to arrest, and I'm not saying I'm defending the EDL. I'm not defending them in any way, shape, or form at all. But if they preemptively round people up, right, and I don't say something about it because, hey, I don't like them or I don't agree with what they say, what happens when they come to round me up and there ain't nobody left? Because I didn't say anything about everybody else. It's time to, we have to call things out, even if we don't agree either 100% or at all with what the person is saying. If you allow their constitutional rights to be violated, yours will be next. Because, of course, they're going to vilify people who it's easy to make, out to be the bad guy. Pedophiles shouldn't have the right to get to the internet. Criminals shouldn't have the right to get onto the internet. And people are like, oh, of course, that's... the criminals couldn't do crime, and pedophiles wouldn't be able to get kids. But they really don't say pedophiles. They say the label sex offender. That's rather broad, don't you think? How many teenagers are getting labeled permanently as sex offenders because they sent a photo of themselves naked to some girl that they were dating, and the girl's father found it, and rather than be a man, he didn't know how to handle the fact that his daughter was getting to that age. And then rather than sit down and talk to his daughter, the father runs like a whining little namby-pamby idiot to the police. And then they get the police involved, and the girl is obviously underage, and maybe the kid's 17, maybe, say he's not 18, but it doesn't matter. You're close enough, sonny boy, you go to jail. And then the kid gets out of jail, obviously jail is not prison, so he'd only be in jail for, a little while, maybe a day, maybe, 12 hours, whatever. Gets the lawyer, gets out, and then what happens? Goes to court, everything, even if he doesn't go to court, gets slapped by the prosecutor or the judge with he I'll plead guilty, I don't want to go to court, whatever. Yeah, but now he gets slapped with a what? With a what? A charge of being a sex offender. So now when they say, well, sex offenders, of course they shouldn't have right to the internet. Well, who's being included in that? You could be labeled a sex offender if you breathe in the wrong direction and do something that they consider to be part of their little thing. And I'm not not defending pedophiles or rapists or anything like that. I've already said I think that's one of the most egregious things you could do. I think pedophiles should be taken out to the woodshed and dealt with accordingly, as well as rapists. Okay? I have no respect for either of the two. You are the lowest of the low. That's why you can't be in general population in the prison, industrial complex, because you'd get shanked and killed, and it happens. Okay, I have no empathy for that kind of stuff. None. Take pedos and rapists out to the woodshed if they really are a pedophile. If they're not just, randomly being accused of that. But if they really are a pedophile, woodshed. Rapist, woodshed. Handle business, do what you got to do. We shouldn't handle, things like that with kid gloves, but at the same token, we shouldn't label everybody. Teenager that sends naked photos or something. Come on, man, we're getting out of hand with these laws and labels. You can't, it's getting to the point where you can't spend a day without dealing with, knowing somebody or going through the system yourself. And that's the goal. They want you in the system. They need you in their system. To the cops that listen to this program, to the company that's recording this for the FBI. You guys, revenue generators. To the police, you guys are revenue generators. How does that feel? I signed up to fight crime. And what do? You issue tickets for stupid crap to make money for some fat that doesn't care you live or die, or your kids live or die. We're going to break, ladies and gentlemen. We will be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it just keeps getting better and better. Anybody see the debate the other night on CBS with, the GOP idiots? The thing with Perry a couple of days before, that was priceless. He looks to Ron Paul for help. Oh, God. Anyway, all right. I'm going to play you this clip really quick. It's like 14 seconds, but it's Michelle Bachmann and Herman Cain and their feelings on waterboarding. Everybody, all these Tea Party people, we'd like them. They're good, right? People aren't sure. I know some truthers that are whatever you want to call yourselves, open-minded people that are like, wow, I think Herman Cain, he might be good. Here, check this out.
If I were president, I would be willing to use waterboarding. I think it was very effective. It gained information.
And the idiots clap.
I would return to that policy. I don't see it as torture. I see it as an enhanced interrogation technique.
Of course you do, Herman. Of course you do. I don't think torture works. In fact, it's not that I think, or I think it doesn't work. I know it doesn't work. Plenty of people said it doesn't work. Even warmonger McCain says that it doesn't work. I mean, when McCain says that torture doesn't work, okay, then something's up. I mean, and I'm not saying John McCain's awesome. He's a turd. I've already said on air why I think he's a scumbag, and he sold out other POWs, and he's helped cover things up, and he's a warmonger and all that other stuff. But I mean, even McCain doesn't like it. He was on, I think it was ABC a couple of years ago, back in, I think it was like 2008. And he was even talking about how it's not right. You shouldn't, we shouldn't torture. Torture's not right. And this is McCain. So if the warmonger is saying it, somebody that likes to drop bombs on people, even their own are saying torture doesn't work. Their own torture guys say, doesn't work. Don't get reliable information. Oh, yeah, you do. No, you don't, because if you're torturing me, I'll say anything you want to hear for you to stop. And think about that. You're waterboarding somebody, simulated drowning, okay? You ask them a question. The guy says, I swear to Allah, or whatever, I don't know. Go on, continue, and they keep doing it. Do you know anything yet? No, I swear to God, I don't know anything. Do it again. After 5 or 6 rounds of that, people are going to tell you, fine, there's this person and this person, and they just start naming people that maybe they know that they don't like, and, they can use that as a way of getting these guys to stop it. And then those people got arrested and tortured. Go ask any of the guys that were involved in this, in the roundups. They'll tell you. Most of these people that were rounded up and brought to like Abu Ghraib, for instance, they're average Ahmed, taxi drivers, teenage kids that just happen to be in the fighting age, male category. So they got rounded up because an IED went off in the vicinity of an area, and all the males in that area got rounded up. None of them probably had anything to do with it half the time. The insurgent would have been from maybe a different area. Sometimes they did have something to do with it, but not all of them. And they would round everybody up. And then we wonder why they hate us. We're not safer. We're not safer at all. First of all, we've destroyed our military. Despite what many people may think, the men and women of the military are very fine people. There are good, very, very good people in the military. Okay? Not all of them are bad. And these people are coming back broken. Now, do you think that the younger generation is going to look at this and say, wow, these people voluntarily went in. They were all for it. And look what happened to them. They come back all busted up. And they don't get taken care of. They get crapped on. They get pissed on. They get, treated like crap. Do you think that the younger generation is going to want to come and fight? No. So now you're going to have a less... You're going to have less incoming bodies. And I'm not saying that starving this current military-industrial complex is a bad thing, but you're not going to have, if you look at it from a defense standpoint, we're not going to have a strong military in the future. And we're destroying the current one we have with depleted uranium, extended tours. Yeah, let's send guys on like 14, 15 tours in Iraq. Oh, Popeye, that doesn't happen. Horse crap, it doesn't happen. Army Ranger just got killed on his 14th tour over in Afghanistan. 14th tour. It included multiple tours in Afghanistan, multiple tours in Iraq. 14th tour. I'll repeat that one more time. His 14th tour of duty. But why didn't he quit, Popeye? Maybe he couldn't. Don't sit and play armchair quarterback and start to say, well, I would have done this or I would have done that until you were put in that situation, because you can't judge it. You can't. Veterans understand what I'm talking about. Combat vets, guys that have been deployed know exactly what I'm talking about. You cannot judge them until you've at least thought about things from his perspective. I mean, you can, but that's not really an informed way of looking at things if you do. Like the Indians used to say, the natives that were here before we came and destroyed the land. I shouldn't say we, because my family had nothing to do with it. I forgot the name of the company that it was that the Puritans actually worked for, but it's it's the same company under a different name that is now called the United States. Which is the corporation that I've told you people about before. Go look it up. And who controls that corporation? It goes right back to the Queen of England. I'm not kidding. This stuff is real. When I come on air and I talk about this stuff, I don't just come on here because, well, I've got a platform, so I'm going to go and bitch because I'm a veteran. Let me tell you something. There are guys that have it far worse than I do. And they're the reason I talk about this stuff and I bring up the veteran stuff, because I don't hear anybody else talking about it. They might make a 15-second blurb or maybe a couple-minute segment on it, but maybe not many hosts. Some of the other hosts out there are veterans. I'm proud to say that there's at least 2 other veterans here on this network. Joe Joseph of the Freedom Link Radio, who is on after my show today, and Ken Hildebrand, who's on from 10 to midnight on Sundays of the Information Nation. They're both veterans. They both served. They both, at least from their perspective, understand a little bit more about what veterans go through. And I could spend 8 shows in a row talking about this stuff, just the stuff that vets have to go through and deal with. And again, I'm not saying, oh, poor veterans. But I guess maybe in a way I am. I'm just asking you to open your eyes to the truth about things. Over a third of the homeless population are veterans. Guys, I implore you. You want to be a human? Seriously, you want a solution? Popeye will give you a solution right here, right now. Go gather all your old clothes up. gather up whatever you don't need. If you have friends that don't need them, gather the clothes up, put them in bags. If you know where a bunch of homeless people hang out, a lot of times they'll have their veterans ID cards hanging off of them. If they don't, and you don't know, even if you don't know if they're veterans, but you know where a congregation of homeless people, a couple of them hang out or whatever, don't give them $1, because look, let's be honest, most of them are going to buy a beer, or if they're drug addicts, they'll go buy drugs. Most of them are just drunks, though. Don't give them $1. Don't, you could give them food, but the best thing you could do, if you're going to give them anything, give them either food or clothing. But I would give them the old clothing that you have no use for. I don't like giving stuff to Goodwill anymore because I don't trust that it's actually going where it's supposed to. A lot of times you see these like Salvation Army stores and stuff, and they sell it, and we use it to raise money. But that's not what I gave it to you for. I gave it to you under the pretense you were going to go find some homeless family or some family that's kind of destitute and they don't have jackets for their kids or something. Or the husband and wife don't have jackets or whatever the case may be, or clothes, and that's where I thought it was going to go to, and it doesn't go to that stuff. So you be proactive. You be a solution to the problem. Take the clothes and go out and, round up all your clothes that you don't need, your friends' clothes, family. Go out, if you know where homeless veterans are, go out and give them the clothes and say, thank you for serving. I wish I could do more, but at least right now this is the best I could do. They'll appreciate that more than $1 because they know that if you people give them money to make them go away. But when you come and you give them clothes, that shows that you actually care on a human-to-human level, and that means more to them than almost anything in this world. Occupy your humanity. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final segment of the Sunday, November 13th edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am going to put out a call to action for anybody that hears this rebroad, live stream, whatever. I need you guys to do me a favor. Somebody. Obviously somebody in Texas or that is close to Fort Worth, Texas. I need somebody, and if whoever is interested in taking this up seriously, email me at info@federaljack.com. Again, info@federaljack.com. In Fort Worth, Texas, at the Shannon Rose Hill Memorial Park, 7301 East Lancaster Avenue in Fort Worth, resides the gravesite of Lee Harvey Oswald. I would appreciate if somebody could go there that is close, listener. There are places on, if you just Google Lee Harvey Oswald's grave, there'll be there's a website that'll come up. It'll give you directions on exactly how to find it because the cemetery staff won't help you find it, and they've got pictures and they show you where the entrance is and everything else, so you can kind of get an idea of where it is, so you can look for it. And if you contact me, in the email, I'll be able to. We can go back and forth. But what I need is somebody to be willing to go to the gravesite with a copy of my my interview with Judith Ferry Baker. If you could burn it onto a CD and just bring it there with some flowers and a note that we could figure a little note from Judith or something that we could put on there, like we did it, Lee, or something like that, and some flowers. I'd like to have you do that and take a picture and send it to me. Now, if you need me to send you the thing on a CD, I could do that. Again, you can email me. But the point is, I would like to get a picture of with the CD with my interview and some flowers at Lee's grave. You don't have to put a note or anything. That was just a side caveat maybe for Judith, but the picture is for her, okay? I can't get to Fort Worth, Texas myself. So if somebody is close in the area and you can get there and, again, just put some flowers and the CD with the interview on it and even like a Federal Jack flyer or something. You don't have to include the flyer, though, because I really don't care about doing it for publicity. It's not going to be put up on the website. This is for as a personal thing. It's a personal favor for Judith. But I would like if someone could do that for me. That would be awesome. And in retribution for doing that, I will hook you up with a brand new federaljack.com T-shirt, which they're not even for sale yet. But if you know what the new card looks like with Obama and Bush on the front of it, and it's got Uncle Jack, and he's much bigger with the two puppets, with the mesmerized eyes and everything else, I'll give you a free T-shirt. I have them in olive drab, and I have them in black. So if you do this for me, actually, whoever does this for me, I'll give you whatever size T-shirt you wear. I'll give you one in black and one in olive drab. I'll give you one of each color because, this is kind of a big favor to ask. But if somebody is willing to go to Shannon Rose Hill Memorial Park in Fort Worth, Texas, and do that for me, and I'll provide you with the CD with the interview and everything on it, so you don't have to pay anything out of your pocket. The only thing it would cost you is the gas to go over there and take the photo. And if you don't have to buy flowers. You could just pick a couple fresh flowers or something and bring them with you. It's, kind of being polite to the dead, showing a little respect. But that would be cool if somebody could get that picture for me and email it to me at info@federaljack.com. Again, we'll go over, you email me, we'll go back and forth, and, we can work out the details. But if anybody does that, I'll hook you up with 2 free shirts, both the same T-shirt, obviously. It says Federal, has the business card, the front, well, it has the image that's on the front of the business card on the back of the shirt, and Uncle Jack is on the front, nice and big. So anybody that wants them, I can show you, I can email you a quick picture I took because we haven't done the page for the T-shirts yet. But if you're interested, email me again, info@federaljack.com. I'd like to go take care of that because I know Judith is going to be going out of the, I don't want to say lecture circuit because she doesn't do lectures, but she's not going to be doing interviews. She's going back into hiding. So before she goes back into hiding, I wanted to see if I could get that done for her and maybe give her the picture just to kind of like let her know that, hey, not only are there people out there listening, but, just symbolic that she got Lee's, the version of what really happened and some truth about the, what really went on with Oswald and everything else out there. So I just thought it would be nice. If not, whatever, can't get it, but again, I can't go to Fort Worth, so if anybody does it, I'll hook you guys up with 2 free T-shirts for doing that for me. So appreciate it. Again, one more time, the email is info@federaljack.com. And if you have any other questions, if there's a guest that you want me to have on, feel free to email me at info@federaljack.com. If there's a guest that you guys think would be a good interview or maybe is you've heard some interesting stuff about, email me. Perhaps I might have already said, nah, I don't want that person on, or maybe I don't even know about the person, and I say, cool, and I go check them out, and I would want them on. So don't be afraid to email me ideas. Very open to that. I'm not, I know sometimes I come off a little rough around the edges, but I'm not that bad. So, again, thank you guys, if anybody does take up that little call to action that I put out there. And, like I said, if you want to be solution-oriented when it comes to that kind of thing, dealing with veterans, if you know a vet that's in trouble, help them out. At least try to help them out. Try to introduce them to another veteran. Try to introduce him to some of these veterans organizations, maybe the VFW, somebody that'll understand what he's been through. Because, look, a lot of you, again, you're not going to understand what that he or she has been through. I know you want to. I know you may want to try the hardest in the world to be that person that understands it and be the first person that does and, break new ground. You can't. You haven't been there. So help them out. Do what you got to do. If there's homeless vets, hook them up with some clothing. Think about Thanksgiving this year, Christmas. Maybe you guys bring a hot meal down to them. Just go. All right, you don't need a special holiday to do it. If you know a veteran, he maybe lost his leg or something in Iraq or Vietnam or even World War II if they're still alive, Korea, whatever. First Gulf War, or they lost a body part, or they were hurt, or they have disability, or they were burned, whatever. Thank them. I don't mean, oh, thank you, tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree type crap, but thank them. Even if you know the wars are crap and you're wide awake, say, don't get into a long diatribe with the person, oh, you were used, blah, blah, blah. Just go up and say, man, I know you're a veteran and I just want to say thank you. That's it. Try to help him out a little bit. If you see someone is down and he wants to, maybe hurt himself or he's talking stupid stuff, look out for that person. Show some humanity. Like I said, but going into the break, occupy your humanity. It's one of the biggest problems with people nowadays. They don't care about other people. It's sick. Oh, well, screw him. Ha, 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 ha. It's funny. Look at this guy. Ha, 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 ha. Occupy your humanity, ladies and gentlemen. You see a homeless person on the street, don't be so quick to, oh, they're homeless, they're dirty. That could be you. You don't know their story. I'm not saying you have to run around and feed every homeless individual on the planet. That doesn't help either. I know the whole feeding a stray dog theory that people, well, if you feed a stray dog, look, I know when I worked in South Beach, I dealt with a lot of homeless people. The point is, you don't have to be such dicks about it. Occupy your humanity, okay? Remember what it's like to be a human being and give a crap about other human beings. Care about people. It is really time for people to stop being so selfish with one another. And I'm not saying you give all your money and wealth distribution and no. But if you have extra clothes that are sitting in your closet, don't throw them away. Bag them up, bring them down to where the homeless people hang out and say, look, I really don't have much, but here, I hope this helps, thank you, and just walk away. You don't have to sit there and have a conversation with them. Sometimes things are better left unspoken. But, do something. Be a human. Take care of one another. These elitist scumbags, these social engineers, in order for their plan to work, the basic requirement, the one thing that they need is for us to not get along. They need for us to be separated and not care about one another. Because we outnumber them over 100 to 1. Can you imagine if we all cared about one another and all decided, no, you're not going to hurt this person anymore. CPS comes to take somebody's kids off to a pedo ranch somewhere, and you say, no. It's time to look at the agents at the end of the hallway, ladies and gentlemen. Raise your hand up in defiance and say, no.
This is Sparta!
It is time to stand up and take back our rights and our humanity. No fear, ladies and gentlemen. We will win this. Thank you for listening. Check out Joe Joseph's show, and I'll check you guys out on Wednesday night.